Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Breanna of Breanna Gunn Enterprises. I am a business system strategist, and today I am super excited to talk about setting your prices so that you feel good about them and your clients do too. Before I get started, I really want to thank Nathan again for this ask. This was a really great question and one that I get a lot, so I thought I'd make a video about it. Now, pricing is something that is very personal and very, very hard to do if you are feeling at all awkward or you have any kind of imposter syndrome feelings. Now, imposter syndrome is where you feel like you are in a position of authority, but you don't belong there. You feel like an imposter, kind of like in Among Us. You're the guy who looks like he fits in, but doesn't really. And here's the thing, guys, imposter syndrome is a real thing. It's also a really manageable thing because I am here to tell you that everyone, even those people that you put up on a pedestal, at some point, if not now, have felt imposter syndrome or dealt with imposter syndrome. It's totally normal. But don't let that feeling of imposter syndrome impact your pricing, because without pricing that you feel good about, you're going to feel really, really crappy as you pitch your services and offers to people, because you're going to feel like you are owed more or you should be earning more, and you're going to feel this really negative piece in your business that doesn't need to be negative. Part of pricing is setting good boundaries in your business. Part of pricing is setting up a boundary that says, this is my worth, this is what I am willing to do this project for, and this is what I'm willing to get paid. If you have a lot of wiggle room around that, it can become kind of a problem. And what I mean by that is, if you aren't sure what your value is, if you aren't sure what your hourly or your package rates are, you leave it open to the world to dictate what you should be making. And you may have a project that you strongly feel is a $3,000 project or a $10,000 project that you agree to take on for 20 bucks an hour because you were not clear in your pricing and your services language that this is where I stand. That is a problem, and that is something that is rectifiable, thankfully. Let's talk about hourly rates versus salary. Hourly rates are what you charge per hour for a project. Most of us who have been in business for a while have moved away from hourly rates and moved up to a retainer or a salaried example. As an example, I charge a starting rate of $1,850 per funnel that I create. I don't charge hourly anymore. Now, does that mean that there are some funnels that I am going to be making less hourly than I would other funnels? Yes, but I have been in business for over 11 years, and I know that that rate is a fair rate that I feel comfortable for my services, that I feel my clients are getting an impeccable value, that they are absolutely worth it, and it helps me to base my pricing in something concrete. Now, if you are just starting out in business, it may be more effective for you to charge hourly. That doesn't mean that you have to invoice at the end of the week and get paid on the back end. You could sell a package of hours up front. You could say 20 hours is this much, 30 hours is this much, 40 hours is this much per week or per month, and charge that way. Figuring out whether to charge hourly or a salary or retainer option is really up to you. But typically, the longer you have been in business, the more easily you are going to be able to charge a retainer rate, because you're going to more effectively be able to estimate the number of hours you're going to spend doing any given task so that you don't have to track your hours. Now, there's lots of great tools for tracking your hours. Dubsado has an hourly tracking tool, so does Honeybook. FreshBooks also has a tracking tool. So does QuickBooks. You can track hours in a number of different ways, but the longer you have been in business, the more daunting tracking your hourly is. And so I highly recommend that if you've been in business for more than a couple of years, you look at a package of hours or at a retainer or salaried situation. Now, if you are someone who has been working for a specific client for any length of time, you're probably going to feel like your rates have increased, but this client has not increased their pay to you, right? Asking for a raise can be difficult, but it's totally within bounds. You would do it at a regular job, right? So why not do it here? If you need to go to a client and ask for a raise, do it. Go to the client and say, listen, I am raising my rates. Here is what my new rate is going to be. It's going to be effective on this day. I would love to hear your feedback on this and go into the conversation with authority. Now, I've mentioned this authority video that I made a few weeks ago a couple of times in the last couple of videos. So if you haven't watched it already, it'll be linked somewhere in the screen. Please go watch the authority video because it really does make an impact on your communication. Along with asking for a raise comes the conversation of discounts. I am not a fan of discounting services just for the sake of discounting services, but that doesn't mean I won't discount my services. What I mean by that is I will discount my services if and when it makes sense. If they are buying a funnel and strategy and social media and other options, I will bundle everything into a package that is a savings for them because they are buying multiple pieces for their business, correct? Now, in your business, that may not be possible, but typically what I recommend is if and when you have multiple service offerings, when people buy more than one, you figure out what those package rates are because people want to save money. They want to see that cost savings, cost benefit, right? So if you are charging, let's say $18.50 for a funnel and they want 2 funnels, instead of doubling the $18.50, you might say, well, it'll be $3,000 for 2 funnels because I'm already in there. I don't have to relearn your stuff. There's all kinds of things. You can also rectify some of the learning curve by charging up front an onboarding fee. This is a big trend with copywriting, social media, blog posting, where you charge a larger amount up front, anywhere from $250 to $1,000 to actually gauge and get into their business. And then that is a one-time fee, and their monthly rate is a different rate every single month. Not different every month, but it is less than that initial onboarding month because you've done all the legwork and learned all the things. Like I said, discounts are great when you're bundling packages. Should you discount outside of that? My answer is no. Because when you start discounting your rates, you build resentment. Not necessarily on their side because they're going to appreciate the rate, but typically they're going to be the same amount of work if you had charged your full rate than if you give them a discount. So in my expert opinion, I would say don't discount unless you're discounting because they're packaging multiple pieces together. Now, the final question that goes along with this conversation is, how do you have the money conversation on a sales call? And guys, this is actually way easier than you think it is, okay? Way easier, way easier. So here's the deal. When you're on a sales call with somebody and they're all gung-ho, ask them, say, I would absolutely love to work with you for 6 weeks. Would you like to know what the price point is for that? Or, okay, we're at the point in the call where we have to have that uncomfortable money conversation. Are you ready for that? It's okay to admit that this is uncomfortable. In fact, it's going to win some trust if you say, I don't love talking money, but we're at the point where we need to talk money, and get their permission. Yep, I'm ready. Yes, I want to know what it is. And then state your pricing. Normally for this funnel and this funnel and this and this and this, my pricing would individually be this much. But if you want to do the whole shebang, this is what it's going to be. Or my rate is $20 an hour, but if you buy a package of 30 hours, you're actually going to get me at $18 an hour. Do you see how I made that benefit them? Now, if they just want a funnel or just want the one thing you offer, then it's okay to say, a single funnel is this much. And once you say how much it's going to cost, stop talking. Okay? Get yourself a fidget toy, twiddle your thumbs, do something. I'll show it to you. I actually have a little garnet. I don't know if you can see this. That I will roll around in my hands quietly under my desk. So I'm doing this while I'm waiting for them to talk. You want to be quiet for around 30 to 60 seconds. It's going to feel like an eternity, but trust me, it's worth it because they are not only processing what you said, but they are processing what you meant. They are doing the calculations and the math in their head, trying to figure out if they can afford your services or not. If you interrupt them, it is most likely going to be a no. We don't want to get a no, we want to get a yes. So give them the space to make the adjustment, to do the math, to think the thing in their head before you start talking again. Get yourself something to fiddle with. Like I said, I have my little garnet. You can have whatever you fiddle with, and don't sit here in the camera, right? Do it discreetly. So let's recap, okay? We talked about having pricing and boundaries in your business and how your pricing is set by you and nobody else. We talked about why I don't think you should discount your services except in certain cases. We talked about the money conversation. So now it's time for your action item. In order to set your action item, I want you to go back and take a look at your services. What are you currently charging and what is the market currently looking for your type of business? Are you competitive in your pricing? If you're a little bit over what the average is, that's totally okay. If you're a little bit under the average, that's okay too. But you want to make sure that your pricing is competitive. You also want to make sure that your pricing is fair to you for the type of service that you provide and fair to your client. So you don't want to be the person who's charging an astronomical amount for this one thing that you do, okay? You want to make sure that the pricing is fair to everybody. The last thing I want to challenge you to do in your action item is I want you to set some boundaries for yourself. Instead of discounting to make a customer happy, make sure that you're only discounting your work when and if it makes sense as part of a package, okay? Next week, we are going to talk about how to build a super simple launch that gets your product off the ground without putting you in the hospital.